I'm Edna Aquino, and I'm from the Philippines, but currently based in Hong Kong. Um, it's a privilege to be part of this meeting on challenges facing women human rights defenders, because I've been working on the issue of women human rights defenders for about a decade now, and way back when I was still with Amnesty International, and it's really very affirming to see that the Women Human Rights Defenders Coalition are now taking up issues that have been there for so many years but have not really gotten the attention of the international human rights community, more so governments, regarding issues on sexuality and issues around the role of families, communities, and culture, and of course the issues around the role of fundamentalisms and how these all affect the lives and struggles of women human rights defenders. Um, I'm particularly interested on the issue of family, culture, and communities because for me, it confirms to me the issue about the private lives of women human rights defenders and their public their involvement in the public sphere, and there's a lot of unsaid issues and articulated issues in terms of how women human rights defenders are trying to cope with pressures brought upon them by their families and communities when they are seen as having transgressed social norms as they go about undertaking their role as women activists. And at the same time, I think there's a very ambivalent feelings by the women's movements too with regards to the role of families and communities. So there's that duality regarding the issues of family, communities, and culture that I think we have to really address head on now. It's really about time, especially with recent developments at the UN when certain governments are also trying to co-opt the issues of cultural rights as being in collision with other sets of rights that we have been defending. So I think this is a very interesting critical juncture that's facing the women's movement, more particularly women human rights defenders. And I'm so privileged to be part of the conversation with brilliant and very committed, passionate women like Ngozi beside me, who is a dear friend, and I think that the outcome of this meeting will go a long way in terms of clarifying a lot of these issues that have been unarticulated, as I said earlier.
Okay, my name is Ngozi Nowosu. I work with BAOBAB for Women's Human Rights. We're in Nigeria, and we have 14 outreach state teams in Lagos, Nigeria. I would say that first of all, I'm an administrator and with BAOBAB for Women's Human Rights. But I think that I went into issues of more activism and sexual and reproductive health and rights out of interest and out of my background as a Catholic young woman growing up and was denied information on sexuality issues. And so I got interested and I said, what can I do to help other girls who could be in my situation? And that's how I applied to the MacArthur Foundation and got grants. And I carried out a research in the Catholic Church. That research sought to find out what parents are willing to share with their young ones on their sexuality rights. And that's how BAOBAB started involving me more and more on sexual and reproductive health and rights. And BAOBAB was one of the pioneer organizations that came up joined the Coalition on Women's Human Rights Defenders in Sri Lanka. And it was very instructive because before then we did a lot of advocacy work, we did a lot of empowering work to empower smaller organizations in Nigeria, but we never gave a thought to our lives as women's human rights defenders. So that was a kind of a time that BAOBAB began to get more involved and begin to think about how we can be protected and how also women who are working with us could be protected. And so I'm glad that I'm part of this initiative. I'm also very glad because it's also going to add to the body of work that I'm currently doing with women living under Muslim laws and Institute for Women's Empowerment in Hong Kong. They have a 3-year project where we are looking at how issues of culture and religion, fundamentalisms are used to deny women their sexuality rights. And so it's instructive, and I'm glad to be part of this initiative. And I hope that as I leave this workshop that I would have gained new ideas and then go back to my community and to Nigeria, where there are laws that are presently seeking to deny women their sexuality rights. Though we are made to understand that those rights would be for men and women, but we know in the past that when issues of sexuality comes up, women are usually the target. And so it's important for us to have the language, it's important for us to have the right information, it's also important for us to be involved so that if we gain this body of knowledge, we can also reach out to other sisters in other parts of the world. And that we have sisters in Iran, in Indonesia, in Afghanistan, in Sudan, who presently also face the situations we face as women's human rights defenders, but they don't have anyone to speak for them. Their culture and religion play a heavy role to deny them their rights. And I hope that the knowledge I've gained here and the sisterhood that we have shared, I will be able to pass it out when I get to Nigeria and even to other networks that I'm going to be involved with working in Nigeria and other parts of the world.